With every Canelo Alvarez victory, it's natural to start comparing him to the most prolific practitioners of the sweet science. Sizing up Canelo to the biggest names from past eras allows us to explore his path to becoming one of the greatest boxers of all time. Like any other sport, it's hard to quantify Canelo's greatness against those from other eras. Although his career is far from finished, there is a way to see how far he's come and how much more he needs to do to truly be considered an all-time great. And that is by comparing Canelo's accomplishments at his current age of 31 to what some of the greats have done at the same age. At 31 years of age, Canelo sports an impressive record of 57-1-2 with 39 wins coming by way of knockout, a 64% clip. He's boxing's first and only undisputed super middleweight champion of the world and holds world titles in 4 different weight classes. His resume of opponents includes past and present Hall of Famers including Floyd Mayweather, Miguel Cotto, Sugar Shane Mosley, and Gennady Golovkin. Now the resume is already of Hall of Fame quality, but here's how he stacks up to other legends. At the age of 31, Oscar De La Hoya had a 37-3 record with a 73% knockout rate, but he was coming off the first knockout loss of his career against Bernard Hopkins. Now the man who arguably stands in Canelo's way of being recognized as the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, Julio Cesar Chavez, he had a ridiculous record of 91-1 in his age 31 year, and was already a 3-division world champion. However, he's been criticized for padding his resume against underwhelming opposition and embarrassing mismatches. Chavez's first 43 opponents didn't even have Wikipedia pages. And then he suffered a stunning defeat at the hands of 18-1 underdog Frankie Randall, a loss he would later avenge in his age 31 year. While Canelo's only loss is to Floyd Mayweather Jr., who is far and away better than Frankie Randall. The great Ruben Alvarez was a stellar 69-2-1 in a murderous bantamweight division in the 1960s and early 70s. But by the time he reached the age 31, he was in a steady decline. It's pretty safe to say that Canelo has a very strong argument for greatest Mexican boxer of all time. But what about the argument as greatest boxer of all time, period? At the age of 31, Manny Pacquiao already had a phenomenal record of 51-3 with a 68% knockout percentage. But he was also coming off a world championship in a record 8 different weight class when he bludgeoned Antonio Margarito. At age 31, Sugar Ray Leonard was 33-1 with a 71% KO percentage and a world champion in 3 different weight classes who had just beat Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Now it's not fair, but they all have a long way to go before catching Sugar Ray Robinson, who had an absurd 132-3-2 record in his age 31 year and was coming off a 91 fight unbeaten streak that ended with a decision loss just the year before. And then there's Muhammad Ali, the living embodiment of the term the greatest. Ali became the then youngest heavyweight champion at 22 when he stopped Sonny Liston. He had victories over legends such as Floyd Patterson, Ernie Terrell, Archie Moore, and Cleveland Williams, all while losing nearly 4 years of his career for famously refusing to join the armed forces. But here's the thing, it's what happens after the age of 31 that can alter the perception of greatness. Ali's second half of his career was arguably better than his first, with legendary wins over George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Kenny Norton, and Leon Spinks. But others didn't fare as well as Ali past their age 31 year. Manny Pacquiao went 10-5 after the age of 31 and only had 1 knockout for the rest of his career. De La Hoya only fought 4 more times and went 2-2. He didn't beat a single significant opponent and suffered an absolute beatdown at the hands of Manny Pacquiao. Julio Cesar Chavez would fare better. He fought 23 more times and went 17-5-1. He wasn't quite the same fighter though and fell short against Kase Tzu at age 38 and De La Hoya at 33. After starting his career 34-1, Sugar Ray Leonard would go 2-2-1 to close out his career and look like a shell of his former self. Now Roberto Duran was 75-4 when he was 31 years old, and he had a ridiculous KO percentage of 71%. But then he went 28-11 and saw that remarkable KO percentage dip down to 59%. Sugar Ray Robinson? Well, he was still great, but the decline was steep as he went 42-16-4 after he turned 31. Now the outlier here is Floyd Mayweather Jr., who beat a then 23-year-old Canelo when he was 36. Now, he embodied the concept of aging like fine wine because he would remain perfect inside of a boxing ring until he retired at the age of 40. Now there's Bernard Hopkins also, who somehow became better after the age of 31. He was 29-2-1 at 31 and would be unbeaten until he turned 40. In order to stake his claim as an all-time great, Canelo must fend off the post-30 decline that has haunted many of legendary boxers. If he can do that and continue to rack up world titles and accolades, there'll be no denying Canelo's place in the GOAT conversation.